looks like most people have gathered, so welcome. Hello everyone, welcome to Social Determinants for Access to Information exhibition. Here we are in the sky above the Community Virtual Library, and our Summer Fair exhibit features various factors that restrict access to information. So we're going to walk inside the Summer Fair to begin. So if you'll follow me right through this door, you can look around the main orientation room. Come on inside. Here we are in the orientation room. I encourage you to look around at all the posters. We have a guest book that you can sign, as well as a comment board back there behind Sheila where you can leave comments. Now we're going to move through quickly because there's a lot of content. So just camera in and look at some of the signs to get a flavor for what this exhibit is all about. And you can come back later and explore more in depth. So we're going to start in the African American room. So if you'll follow me this way, I'll go past Tamu here. The African American culture room. If you'll come in, you can click on some interactive resources.
And right now at my institution, we have a buddy program where we are working in groups of 2, examining anti-racism. And since I'm a librarian at The Ohio State University, we are, of course, applying these terms to definitions to being a librarian, whether it's in administration, technical services, content management.
This room, you can click on a lot of the signs. You'll see where it says click me for links. You can also tell us what you're reading. As librarians, maybe you're reading something that really relates to some of the topics we're talking about today, or maybe you're just reading something for fun. We love that too. If you click on the sign that I'm near right now that says notes, you'll find a lot of links to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then we're going to move this direction and walk down to where it says begin to read here. I'll stand under the sign. And we're moving over to Puerto Rico, and that's where P is a medical librarian. So you can start where I'm standing and read some of the information, or come into this room and cam in on the wonderful flavor of Puerto Rico. There's even some refreshments in here, I think.
Area is Puerto Rico because we have a different relationship with the U.S. and the area of the whole is the Latin American programs in the U.S., immigration, etc., to get access to information. Those are psychological and social determinants to access information. And I did a room only for Puerto Rico because Puerto Rico is different in the way that we are American citizens and a territory and a close relationship with the United States. So we have our determinants of information. There is recipe. You maybe want to come later and explore the room with more time because there is a lot to take in this exhibition. I made an infoliver for Latin America, and I made an infoliver for just Puerto Rico, so Puerto Rican studies, and our state fiscal state with the late from law. Sorry, I am talking in dual language. And if you have any questions, I am more than happy to answer them.
Let's walk into the room of bias. I love this room because you know what? We all have it. You cannot escape your bias. It's just part of being human. When we build our online personal incoming dashboards on social media, you run into the concept of confirmation bias, which means we all tend to follow people that think just like we do, and that can really become problematic. We learn by bumping into people who are different. So this room, I think, is intriguing to think about our bias as being part of access to information.
There is a way to test yourself in different topics. You will be surprised how we think we don't have a particular bias, and we have. And this is an exercise I do with my first year medical students, because we work with the social determinants of health, and they think they are not biased, and they are. Everybody is, as Val says. So it's interesting to test yourself in different topics, and we can make a discussion later if you want to.
Okay, I see people are gathering this direction. I'm standing by the photo booth. You can step in and take some photos, or you can come back later for that. But I wanted people to see the park and come out this direction. We're going to meet at the back of the park at the gender diversity section of the exhibit. Namaara has done a great job sharing some NPC, non-player characters that are storytellers, and we can visit them. We're gonna go back this way, pick up a hot dog at the hot dog booth, and we'll meet back at the gender diversity section.
I'm really excited to be a part of this summer fair and to be able to share a little bit about gender. It's a huge, huge topic, and the storytellers that we have out do share information, including, a little bit of discussion about the difficulty or the challenges in access to healthcare, information, appropriate community support, housing, employment, and what the importance is of being able to embrace and respectfully support gender choices. As Val mentioned earlier, language is changing, and language is so important because that is fundamentally how we communicate in our world today. So hopefully this gives you a little information you didn't already have. There are resources available in the sandwich board, a note card of links, some definitions, and of course we've got some gifts here as well. So if you have any questions, just let me know, and that's pretty much it. Just did want to add two things actually. One is about pronoun use. And a lot of people have difficulty with this. So if a person looks one way, you want to use the associated pronouns. But if they don't identify that way, and they use different pronouns, it is respectful of that person to use the pronouns that they have chosen, whether it's she, her, or he, him, or they, them. What I like is that more and more events and conferences and things like that on the name tag actually allow you to specify what your pronoun use or preferred pronouns are. The other thing is, as we look at gender and identification, we also take into account things like two-spirit and third and fourth genders, which are traditionally sacred designations within specific indigenous cultures, First Nation cultures in the United States. And so when you're looking at that and thinking about that, please remember that they're sacred and they're used often in religious and specific to a culture, which we also want to be able to respect.
I want you to walk this direction because Zoe's got some more storytelling characters around the other side of the park. So walk this way. Tamu's also got some African American food here. I hear the drums.
Hi, everyone. Hopefully everyone can hear me. So yeah, we continue the storytelling aspect here in front by the ice cream vendors, and as exhibit curators we had a lot of ideas about the stories we wanted to share, and thanks to Namaara actually and her kind guidance, we were able to make these stories come to life. And so some of the NPCs you see here are actually representative of interviews I did with real people and then anonymized them so that I could share them here in Second Life. And they're just interviews about these people's stories and their information needs and the challenges that they faced accessing the information that they need. So hopefully you can come back and kind of spend time with these folks too. You can click on them to get sort of a taste of their story, and if it interests you and you'd like to read the full interview, the full interviews are available via this board that'll take you to a Google Doc.
So I'm going to give you another minute just to camera around, maybe take a couple photos if you wanted to do that. And then I'll put the Second Life URL to lead you down to the community virtual library down below us for Gentle Heron's exhibit on hidden disabilities. Pop down below and we'll meet at Gentle's exhibit down at the main branch of the community virtual library. And when you click on the red dots, you will get information about disabilities that inhibit access to information at times that we don't even see. In just a moment, I'm going to ask you all to step inside the library and we'll go into the large room on the first floor, the big reading room. It'll give us a place where we can all be together to debrief on this exhibit and tour. So I'm going to head on in there, but feel free to make sure you've read all about the hidden disabilities before we walk inside.
In the Puerto Rican exhibit, some Puerto Rican music, different ways for people to experience what's being presented.
I think you've all done an excellent job. This is very important information, how a label or social factors can inhibit or categorize the way that we relate to information.
The idea of the summer fair being, this is a dynamic experience that we are all experiencing together in time in the summer of 2021. And it is relevant and it's dynamic. And I don't want it to become stagnant where it's a sim that is a ghost town and nobody ever goes there, you know, so that you have to balance it being live and interactive with it being extensive and permanent, if that makes sense.
Val, I discussed the digital divide in the in my part of the exhibit, and there are 2 floors to the exhibit. Unfortunately, we weren't unable to see the second floor, but definitely the digital divide is discussed.
So not only the MOOC, but I really say carry it over to next year and present during the virtual world's best education practices, or best practices in education, however you refer to it.
Thank you for that too, Shiloh. And I'm sure our curators are getting excited about that idea because to build upon what they've already done, this also kind of lends itself to the topic of digital archival and how in virtual worlds we build all this great content and then what happens when it just goes away. You know, we want to figure out ways to archive this, and as you mentioned, maybe a professional academic paper, a machinima, photos, things to document what is relevant during this period in time with access to information. And so we don't want it to just go away and lose it.
There is so much you're going to be able to do during this next year. It's going to be exciting to see you grow.
I'd just like to thank Val for the tour. I think it was really interesting, and I'm really grateful that she was willing to organize this. And thanks also to the curators. And I think Val and I will be talking a bit more about kind of collaborating between Virtual Worlds Education Roundtable, but also InfoLit iSchool, because the theme of that is information. So I think there's a lot of synergy there for the future as well.